How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another amazing episode of Raw Rules is Written. And today's a special episode. I'm going to be one of your co hosts for this very special episode. My name is Matt Robertson, also known as Grape Ape, and joined by
Stefan Srot, also known as D and Bad Wrong Fun, on a couple spots out there. And we got quite the crew tonight.
quite the crew, Stefan. I think we've only had this many guests during our holiday episode.
You did that one thing where, is that the one you're talking about, where you were like, let's have like 13 people on?
Yeah, I don't think we've had this many people before besides that one. But introduce Stefan. Would you like to make the introductions?
Yes, it's that Wayward Studios gang, Mark, Eric, and Randy to some, I don't know where they're at in relation to me on the screen. That you might be paying attention to horror cinema blah, tripping over
Yeah.
myself in your introduction, horror cinema classics. Uh, I almost got that last word out, but not quite. Yeah. So if but why don't you all I don't know, select amongst yourselves and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Hey, I'm Mark. I also known as Mark. I don't have any cool handles, so I'll work on that. Um,
Yeah, well, you're definitely gonna need one now that
I know. I definitely need it.
all right.
Collectively, we call it.
Monster Man Mark.
Well,
Yeah,
you see, and now that you said you don't have one, the guys are gonna have to give you one.
yep,
And you
Hmm.
can't make your own up. It's gonna
yep.
have to
True,
be
true.
given.
Yeah.
All right,
Chat,
chat.
come through for us. Yeah.
Come on,
You
chat.
missed that opportunity.
We
But yeah,
none of us
Mark,
have nicknames. We need nicknames.
if
We need
these
handles.
guys are seeing you for the first time, tell us a little bit about each of
Yeah,
yourselves.
yeah, sure. I'm 1/4 of Wayward Studios. Um, Wayward Studios was kind of formed, well, officially formed a couple years ago, but spiritually formed back in like around 1986, 87 when we started gaming together in high school. We're all in our 50s now, and it's gaming has just kind of been a lifelong love of ours. And, we got to a point and we wanted to kind of share some of our stories with the masses. So we formed Wayward Studios. We started with some of the Nowhere stuff. If you've seen any of that, that's our DCC line of adventures. And then we moved on and did a few things for Weird Frontiers. But always in the back of our head, we wanted to do our own game. And we kind of put our heads together and we're like, what genre do we want to tackle? And eventually we settled on horror because I mean, horror for many of us. It's funny because Randy will probably talked to it a little bit, but Randy was the one who kind of came up with the idea of horror, and he's of the four of us probably the least into horror. But we've all grew up in that 80s era VHS horror line of stuff, and we just wanted to capture that. I mean, DCC does such a good job of capturing that old school vibe of gaming and the fantasy genre. So let's grab that old school vibe of terror and mayhem. So
Well,
yeah,
let's jump over to Randy. Randy,
yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came up with this brilliant idea.
I'm Randy. I guess my handle would probably be Methuselah. That's what I've been using for many years. Um,
You
because
have the
I'm
best
old.
beard out of the group, right?
See, I'm old. They grow and shave them off all the time. I don't
Oh,
know. I just kept mine.
all right.
Um, yeah, been gaming with Mark since freshman year of high school when he interviewed me to be his friend. Um, and yeah, we've been steaming along for I guess now almost 40 years. God, I feel old.
How
Um,
did you come
but
up with this idea for horror cinema classics if you
well,
don't even like horror movies?
we were kind of kicking around different ideas and what had already been done for Goodman Games, and we were down to a couple other ideas and that, and I thought, well, why not do something with horror? Because there's not a lot of 80s type horror games that I knew of that were out there until I started researching and found out there were more of them than I knew. But nothing specifically for Dungeon Crawl Classics and Goodman Games was a horror game. And even though I'm not a big fan, I knew the three of them were big fans and knew that it would be jump off real good with them.
And not sure I shouldn't say that you don't love it, but you love it the
No,
least out of the four,
not to say that
basically.
I don't love it. I'm a big sci-fi nerd. That's my thing mostly.
All right, well, let's hit up Eric. Eric, tell us
Right.
a little bit about yourself.
All right. Eric, no real handle. I think Mark for a little bit tried to call me Prince of Darkness back in high school, but I'm not sure that stuck. Um, Once again, we've known each other forever. And one of the things that I really loved about this concept, about this idea of having this horror game, not unlike any other genre. And if you're running a fantasy game, you can run high end Lord of the Rings, super complicated stuff, or you can have something goofy, right? Horror, we can have some dark, Lovecraftian, cosmic horror, realities ripping apart, or you can have sort of a Ghostbusters adventure, right? I mean, you can do the full gambit, and I think that's the power of HCC here. That it really, if someone gets us at their table, whatever it is that they enjoy. I know when we've been game testing and play testing over the last year, a lot of people have come to me who have been at my table who have been like, I'm not a huge horror fan at all, but I'm going to get this game because this is just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to jump into.
I am a huge horror fan, so as we're going through, I'm going to hit you with a question first, so you guys can start thinking on it. We're going to come back to this one. I don't want to put you on the spot now. What is your favorite horror movie? And this one's for you too, Stefan. We can all ponder on it a little bit. But I
Don't
think
need
we
to
pretty
ponder.
much answered our first question. Our first question is, what is horror cinema classics? So, Mark, just give us a brief. If you're giving somebody a 2 minute pitch on what it is, what do you tell them?
Yeah, well, what I usually how I usually sell it is similar to what Eric said. This is a send up to the VHS era of horror, and it doesn't have to be 80s. I mean, we grew up in the 80s. A lot of what we love is in the 80s, but it is it at its core, it's a genre that has so many subgenres. So it uses the DCC chassis, and then we've added a bunch of mechanics, or not a bunch, but several mechanics to kind of capture the horror vibe, kind of capture that more modern day vibe of whatever decade that you're playing in. But like Eric said, it's if you want to run cosmic horror, if you want to run very dark, grim, Stennard version horror, to use a DCC analogy, you can do that. If you want to run Evil Dead 2, Cabin in the Woods, you know, you know, Ash Williams type stuff, you can absolutely do that as well. If you want to run, Hammer era type of stories, you can do that. But at its core, we want to capture the cinema of the horror cinema classics. So we have all these mechanics we have a specific mechanic that we use to do that. But the idea is that we're telling a story as if we're writing a script. In fact, we call our adventures scripts. We call our judge a director. We call our players actors. We call our zero levels extras. We want to really kind of capture that movie vibe, that movie feel.
Very nice. And I hope Nick appreciates that plug you gave him.
Big plug to Nick. Nick is pretty much one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. He's been so supportive of us, and I'll shout out Stennard and Nick Barron any chance I get.
Oh yeah, his little pamphlets. He'll put out a little pamphlet and be like, it's just a new mechanic, and you'll be like, this is beautiful. This
It's a
is
great one.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, and let's pass it over to Randy. I'll pick you randomly,
All
Randy.
right.
Uh, for more on HCC, what went into the decision to make the occupation list more general instead of very defined? Not a D100 list, like in most things, or that's what's
Oh,
in the quick start rules.
right,
Is that going to be the
right.
same in the big version?
Yes, yes. It- that design actually was a Eric's idea, in that we didn't want to. There's so many more occupations possible in the modern age than there is in medieval times. So we wanted to open it up and have a little bit more player, you know, agency in choosing what they were. So you'll roll your general type of whether you're blue collar or law enforcement, but then you can kind of drill down on that as the player and decide specifically what you are. Eric,
In
Yeah, I
the
like
in
it.
the right in the DCC engine, let's say I was I don't know,
wrong
I was a
farmer.
blacksmith. I was a gong farmer, a blacksmith, whatever, and then I become an adventurer, right? So like your occupation in DCC adds some flavor to your character, and it might help a decision or two down the road. But more often than not, if I've got a first, second, or third level character in DCC, I'm not still a gong farmer that I adventure on my side. I'm an adventurer now, right? So in if you're 1986 and you're fighting the darkness that has come into the world and you're fighting all these horror creatures and you're trying to beat back the darkness, odds are I'm still a police officer, I'm still a teacher, I'm still a nurse, or I'm still whatever it is I am because I need money to keep my apartment and my car going, right? So Randy hit it right on the head, like creating a mechanic that allowed some randomness, um, but also then to be able to drill down and really kind of shape your character and have a little bit more agency in who you are.
Yeah, so let's talk about this a little bit. Character creation follows pretty much the same rules as DCC. You got your ability scores, same ability scores, 3d6 down the line. You're going to roll for your lucky sign. And then we get into the occupations and kind of give everybody a hint of what we're talking about. You've got like blue collar, white collar, service industry, trade, skilled labor, and it goes on into some other genres: medical, educator, military. But for an example, it just gives a broad look at for trade and skilled labor, electrician, HVAC, plumber, hairstylist, welder, machinist, TV repairman, carpenter, tattoo artist. So it gives you a good assortment to choose from, but it also lets you, if you've got an idea for something else that falls under that category, to easily go with that. It doesn't limit you, like you said, because there are so many jobs out there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, part of it can fit, what you're running. Like a fun example is we were just all like, or three of us were at Gamehole Con, and I was running a play test on a soon to be released, well, not released, but soon to be processed flick, which is a zero level game. And I had a couple people in my group that worked in corrections, and they were like, "Wouldn't it be funny if one of us was law enforcement and was escorting the whole thing takes place on a train and was escorting a prisoner?" I was like, "We can do that." So we had a law enforcement guy, we had a drifter character who became I think he was a dropout or something like that, and he became the juvenile delinquent that was going into custody, and so yeah, we had a neat adventure with somebody who was a prisoner when all the mayhem struck. So that was a lot of fun.
Now, for the adult occupations, that's on the adult side, but a lot of horror movies, include our teens, include our high
Mhm.
schoolers just out of high school, early college, young adults, and so you've also got a teen archetype in there. It's either or, right? Either you choose from
Right.
the adult occupation or you choose from the teenage archetype.
Right. It could be you're running a game and you want to go specifically towards the kids or the teens, and then you're going to use that chart. Or if you're doing an adults one, then you'd be adults. But you could also have one like, say, it takes place on a cruise ship. You might have adults and teens in the party.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
And
I'm sure 1980s, even though we're chronologically fairly removed from the 80s at this point, time has moved on, but it's a lot easier to come up to imagine the occupation of what someone in the 80s would have as opposed to
Right.
whatever
sure,
generic kind of fantasy we might all be imagining, mostly the same but not really the same.
I'm sure quite a few of us had to Google what a gong farmer was.
Oh
when we
yeah.
first
Yeah.
discovered DCC.
So
Um,
many people.
yeah.
And so for the teenage archetype, you got the basic, well, not basic, but the well-known athlete, honor student, loner, rebel, socialite, geek, part-time worker, creative, and artist. And for those, you also give, good examples. For the artist, poet, painter, musician, theater kid, photographer, and all kinds of things that go along with that. So now that we've got that, what's our next step in character creation?
Well, so you've rolled your stats, you've determined your lucky sign, you've determined your occupation. You're gonna one of the things you start out with some basic equipment, and really like just kind of as it relates to your occupation. Then you're gonna roll on we have a random equipment guy chart that tries to lean a little bit into the 80s. You could, find yourself with a Walkman or a boombox or a Rubik's Cube or slap bracelets or a mood ring
But
or,
players have really used their Rubik's cubes in creative ways.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
that's been super interesting.
we did have an attempted garroting front with a yo-yo at one of my
Uh,
sessions, which
That just makes sense.
it ended in
Yeah.
tragedy, but it was hilarious at the time.
sure.
Yeah, so you're gonna flesh out your character with that random piece of equipment. And if you roll at a 99 to a 00, it could be a weapon. And then there's another chart you could roll, for a weapon. Um,
I got a question about this equipment. So,
yeah,
leading into the equipment, that brings us to question 3. And you went with kind of like a bag inventory method. It's called
yeah.
the bag.
Hmm.
How does that scale with wet level? Because, first, explain to us what the bag is, the concept.
Okay. You guys want me to do that?
Uh,
I
well,
can.
the bag mentality is that instead of having this equipment list in other games that we love, you have this equipment list that's 300 pages long and it gets tedious, right? So, and this mechanic was Mark's, this idea of having the bag mechanic, which could be your fanny pack, could be a backpack, could be your newspaper boy bag, could be a purse, what the big 80s purses for our cheerleader characters, whatever. Um, but the idea that your purse has a bunch of stuff in it or your bag has a bunch of stuff in it, and hey, I have this in my bag, even though it's not specifically written. We'll make a luck check, or you can say I'm foregoing the luck check. I'm just spending a luck point, and I do have it in my bag.
I'd like
And then
that.
it's
I do like that.
No.
and then you can write it down. It's on your equipment list, and you don't have to make a luck check again if for whatever reason. I remember having some players who wanted like big pieces of sidewalk chalk. They made their luck check. They've got their chalk. It wasn't really useful, but they have it now, so they can write it down.
So, how does it scale with levels? So, if we're playing, does Horror Cinema Classics allow for campaign play? Meaning, if I'm getting this equipment from these features and flicks, can I carry them on to my next adventure or module? Do I get a bigger bag, or do I have to start tracking inventory, or is that stuff that I gain immediately on my person from then on?
Well, the idea of the bag too is that it's got to kind of make sense for your character. So the cheerleader is going to have cheerleader kind of equipment in their bag. They're not going to have a loaded 45 automatic. But now, as you're getting into class levels, and say you're the survivalist who's all about guns, and all of a sudden you run out of ammo, you could go, I reach in my bag and pull out more ammo because that would make sense for that character to have there.
I think another thing too, when you and to answer your original question, yes, absolutely, HCC is designed towards campaign play, and to kind of, I mean, I guess maybe to kind of background that a little bit, talk a little bit about the origin of what's going on in the world and why there are classes that there are and why why there need to be classes, and we've kept it pretty simple. There's a thing out in the world, or it's called, we just call it the darkness. and that's an undefined thing. It could be cosmic horror, it could be aliens. You could leave it as a judge or as the director. You can leave it as undefined as you want, or you could, write an entire history as to why, or what this darkness is. But whatever this darkness is it's trying to corrupt you. It's trying to corrupt the world, trying to bring evil to the world, just as evil things do. And the way it starts is in that flick, in that zero level funnel, and in that funnel, you come in contact with the darkness for the first time. You're camp counselors, and you encounter a slasher that can't be killed. Uh, you know, you're at a barn party, and somebody, is terrorizing the people with some type of unknown ancient artifact of some kind. So that's the first time that you come in touch with the darkness, and then you survived. If you're lucky enough, you survived. And by surviving, the darkness has taken notice of you, and the powers that be, the things that whatever that thing is that's opposing the darkness, and we just call it the light, um, has also noticed you, and they're going to give you those tools to combat the darkness. So now you're this character class, and if you want to talk about character classes in a minute, we can do that as well. But now you're a character class, and now you're aware of the darkness, and what that means to you is up to whatever group. Are you a group that constantly finds themselves, being forced into confronting the darkness? Do you actively seek out the darkness? The agents of darkness or what have you? And that would, are you playing like a supernatural type of scenario where you're actively looking for signs? Reading, the National Enquirer or the Globe or whatever, or the Sun or whatever, and trying to track down these things, or are you just that unlucky that they stumble upon you? And that would kind of dictate what your bag looks like. If I'm going out to, you know, hunt the darkness, I'm probably, going loaded for bear. And
Okay.
that transcends the bag. That's more of an equipment thing. The bag is like, oh crap, I forgot my duct tape. Did I bring it? Let's check the bag.
Got it. So one thing, I think rule number 2 was no weapons in the bag. Is
Yep.
that what does that mean?
So
Because
that's
everything in
exactly
my
what.
hands is a weapon. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like anything
Well,
in my bag is going to be a weapon.
yeah, yeah. So I guess yeah, we're not talking about the living weapon that is grape ape. We're talking about the average Joe camp counselor. But improvised weapons, absolutely. Do I have a pen in there? Do I have yeah, do I have some keys in there? Do I have I would even argue if someone says, "Do I have pepper spray in there?" or something like that, I might make it. But the guy who goes, I'm going to reach in and pull out, my dirty, hairy 44 Magnum that
Got
that
it.
I think I left in there. We're not going to allow that.
Got it.
Now that said, it's your game. If you want to play a game, where people are pulling out, big guns out of their bags, I'm not, we're not going to stop you. There's no HCC police. Just like in any other role playing game, it's your game. Make it fit your table. But
I literally,
rules as written, no weapons. No.
That's the name of the show.
That's right.
Right. But Matt, you're absolutely right. Like if we were all leveled characters and we were going to go investigate some house of evil where this mass murderer had been killed and we think that there's a malevolent spirit there, of course you're going to bring weapons in your bag versus I've got my fanny pack on and I'm going to a football game. Well, I
Yeah.
probably don't have a big Bowie knife in there.
And I guess my question was just like as I progress on and gain more stuff and more knowledge about the darkness, would I become more prepared into the next one? Can I
Yes.
bring stuff with me?
Yeah.
yeah,
I
Uh,
would hope so.
speaking of,
the bag
Stefan,
doesn't stop you from having an equipment list. It's just that,
Right.
again, that, oh crap, I don't have duct tape on my character sheet. Did I bring some? It's kind of just that mechanic. So you don't have to
Yeah.
get real detailed in your equipment list,
I
but
mean,
you're certainly going to put your weapons and things like that down in your equipment
It
list.
sounds like something that I've used in, con games when you get, and I've seen other people use it. You get that purple sorcerer thing that has like 2 items, but it's a
Yep.
third level character. You're like, they got more than that. If it makes sense, sure. And if it maybe doesn't, luck check. And yeah, it sounds like a rule that's grown out of,
That,
that the community's been doing for a while.
and that's absolutely where we got it from. We running con games, and someone says, "Well, my character doesn't have this. I'm third level. Do I have a torch? Well, make a luck check. See if you remember to pack it."
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
So beyond that,
Oh, bro.
you. Hmm?
Crow in chat says, "Tell me how to use duct tape as a weapon." That's the most lethal of weapons. I can make a duct tape ball and shove it in your
Yeah.
mouth and choke you.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
wrap it around your head
See-
like a mummy so you can't see and you just can't breathe.
See,
So-
I see you going, is there chalk in my bag? Oh, there's chalk. Did I mention this is blessed chalk? I had
Blessed
my
chalk,
priest
I mean,
blessed it. So,
know.
I didn't
Perfect
mention that
chalk.
before, but it is.
Crow, I'm going to
I
direct
mean-
your attention to Google a meteor hammer, and you can just imagine how you could take your length of duct tape as much as you want, fold it over itself so it's not sticky, and then you have the big end of the roll, and then just look up meteor hammer and see what kind of damage you can do with that.
I mean, I would take the duct tape and just rip skin off over and over. Just stick it, rip it, stick it, rip it.
Yeah, that's
I
that's getting
mean,
horrific now.
everything is weapon in my hands, Crow. All
I
right,
was
Stephen,
thinking
what's
about
our
that.
next question?
Yep. Next up, you briefly, you already, I was going to ask you about the darkness, but you told us about the darkness. So
Mark, go ahead.
I was going to say, instead, tell me about these classes. We got all new classes here, very thematic.
Well, you
Yeah.
guys have been playing for a while. Mark, who's the darkness in your games that you guys have been playing
True.
together?
Fun.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have leaned
Can
away.
you tell them yet?
Oh no. So I think we all have different visions when we run our games as to what the darkness is. I look at it as something a little bit more infernal, something a little bit more that I like the idea of the agents of darkness. So the idea of them corrupting and looking to subvert your morals and stuff like that. And for me, that kind of strikes a little bit of the more infernal, diabolic, demonic type of thing. Randy had an interesting theory that he wanted to go with. Randy, you can talk about your crashed Earth thing.
There is a theory that when the Earth was formed, another planet crashed into our planet. It's called Thea, I think it is, or Thea, or something like that. And some believe that pieces of the fragments of that other world are still within Earth, deep down. So my theory is that the darkness was on that planet, and it's seeping up through the crust.
Nice. I like that. I mean, I also think, Fozzie Bear, the darkness.
Yeah,
Fozzie's kind of evil.
he is
But
pretty
Stefan,
evil.
I didn't mean to interrupt. What was the next question?
Oh, I was going to ask about all the very
Sure.
flavorful classes that are
classes,
in
yeah.
HCC.
Eric, you wanna grab classes?
Sure. Well, we'll just start talking, and please.
Are there more
if
than
I can do
6?
something.
There will be
Well,
more
there are
than
6 in the
There will
quick
be
start rules.
Okay.
We'll have 10 in the book when you buy the game itself.
All right. So why don't you hit us with the classes? Just give us a brief 1 or 2 lines about each one.
Sure. So we start with, and we've revolved around different names for them, but we have the survivalist, which is your Rambo character, your the one who sees the darkness, and their first instinct maybe is like you, Matt. Like, I'm a living weapon, right? I'm someone who the weapon is in my hand, and they would be your melee expert in your party. Like, they would be the ones who have the gun or the knife or the weapon, and they're the ones who sort of swing first and ask questions later. Then we have the faithful, which in our games, the faithful has come into a lot of different versions. I mean, it could be your archetypical like battle nun, battle priest type character. But it is someone who relies on their faith in the powers that be, or the kindness of humanity, or the goodness of the world, or that perfect dharma of what the world could be. And that's where their powers come from. That's how they fight the darkness. That's our cleric character, if you will, our priest character.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not
the
necessarily worshiping a god. They could be
No,
they could worship rock and roll, but it's
right,
their faith in rock and roll that gives them their power.
right.
I just ran one
Yeah,
where the faithful his faith was teamwork, and
sure.
he was a high school coach, and they were getting ready to go into this big bad area, and he grabs everyone. He's like, "All right, everybody, take a knee." And
Sure.
he's
Ted Lasso
Ted
could be a
Lasso. Yeah,
faithful
that was
fighting
100%.
the
Yeah,
darkness.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You have the esoteric, which is the one who is dug into the arcane. And once again, that could be your charismatic cult leader, or it could be the Lovecraftian, spellcaster who's looking over old tomes all day long, trying to find ancient secrets.
The wizard.
The wizard, right? We
Okay.
have the junksmith, which in our original version was the MacGyver, was the one who can look around and take a bunch of stuff and put it together, which is a trope in a lot of 80s horror movies. You have someone who puts together something weird or bizarre because they found a saw blade and a mower or a mower engine, and they take something
then
out
they
of
have
the
a
car and
chainsaw
all of a sudden
hand.
they got a
And
big
then they have
weapon.
chainsaw
Oh,
hand.
exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. We have the Wayward, which is our thief character, which once again, we wanted to create a lot of these characters, we wanted to create enough breadth that you weren't pigeonholed into an idea. So our thief character could be a Tony Soprano, he could be a Danny Ocean, right? It's wherever, but that's their skill set. Where do you want it to be? And then who am I missing, guys?
The
I'm quick
synthesis.
through.
The
Which one?
synthesis.
Oh yeah, the synthesis. That's our mad
Mad,
scientist.
mad scientist. Herbert West.
Yeah.
So
So
they
those
they
are
do
for
potions and
right.
The synthesis. They originally the class name was Mad Scientist, but I don't know. Powers that be thought that it might not be the best name for a hero. But yeah, they're the Herbert West. They're the ones who experiment on themselves and their friends, and
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Herbert West is that the Reanimator? I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah,
know the
yeah,
name,
sorry.
but yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Reanimator.
that's
Right.
Reanimator.
I
Yep.
mean,
Animator.
the Fly. What was that?
Right,
The
just
Fly,
like
the
the
Fly
Bruno
would
You know.
from the Fly.
absolutely be. It could be a synthesis. That could also be a junksmith.
Right.
That's yeah. You're just your eccentric scientist guy.
Right.
So, can you tell us the 4 other classes, or are they still in
Sure.
development?
No, actually, if you go on our backer kit page, we have them listed. There is the possessed. This is, I think the possessed. Yeah, the possessed is our character that you get to play after you get killed. I think. Yeah, if you die in a funnel or flick, you can become possessed and become somebody's chariot as they run you around. We have a profiler. Profiler is an interesting one. Eric came up with a profiler. This is kind of like your Scully Mulder type of character. The truth is out there type of character. We have a psychic. They don't use magic so much as they use extrasensory perception and whatnot. We have a slayer. Matt, this is probably right up your alley. I mean, I know you're Wisconsin and Texan, so I know firearms are near and dear to your heart.
Don't you ever say that I'm Texan ever again. You watch your mouth. I'm
Wow.
trapped down here.
You're trapped in
My
Texas.
wife, My wife keeps me locked down here.
I believe the Wasp song is "Blind in Texas."
It's like
Um,
living on the sun down here.
but
That's in
yeah,
Texas,
so
the Grape Ape story.
yeah, our Slayer, they're the ones that they're a living weapon. Anything, their unarmed combat is extreme. They can they've tapped into the full potential of the human body.
You're Buffy the
Um,
Vampire Slayer type.
Kind of a Buffy the
Very
Vampire
nice.
Slayer. I think that's all of them. Yeah, that's all of them.
I think that's 10. And just to be clear to all my Texas fans out there are things that I do love about Texas, but of course my heart will always be in Wisconsin.
Um,
All right.
other than barbecue.
Oh yeah. Other than barbecue, I mean,
I mean,
there's the 4 temperate months of the year are amazing, but there's all kinds of good stuff down here. Conventions, we've got a ton of
Yeah,
conventions.
you do. I mean, not
Uh,
as many as Wisconsin, but yeah, you do have some.
all right, but let's keep going. So, question 6, if you would please, Lena, tell us about this darkness ladder. What is it, and how does it work?
You want me
Randy,
to?
you want to tell us about it?
Sure.
So we don't have alignment in HCC. Um, to replace that, we have the darkness ladder. So you can. The darkness is always trying to get you to be one of their agents,
mm,
trying to draw you in, and you can ask the darkness for a little power, give you a little bit extra on your dice rolls and things like that. But then you start going down the ladder, and as you get certain steps of the ladder, you can get corruptions
And so,
that
Eric, it's a rung of 1 to 10. Is that right? 10 being
correct,
what you start with.
correct.
And
One,
And so how do you lose it? So you're in a situation, the chips are down, you've lost your weapon, you're in a sewer, you're in a puddle, the chud is coming at you, you need to find an exit right away. How can I use this ability to help me out?
He called you Eric.
I'm sorry.
yeah,
So I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, so we part of this mechanic is what we call the gloaming dice, and you have a light die and a dark die that at the beginning, when you have your character at the beginning of a flick or a story or a movie, the dice are the same, and the die is a bigger die depending on how connected to the supernatural or spiritual you are. So that faithful character might have a D8 or a D10. Meanwhile, the someone who
Survivalist.
is a survivalist only has a D4. And you roll your light and your dark die. And so let's say I'm a faithful and I roll a D8 light and a D8 dark, and my dark out is higher than my light by 6. Well, then we go on the chart and we see that darkness has outdone lightness by 6, and might give me something really great to that roll. For your example, I'm in the sewer, I'm knee high in sauce, and I got these chuds coming at me, and that allows me to find an exit, or allows me to have some sort of ability to fight the chud off, or perhaps the chud momentarily just let me go because they recognize me as one of them. Right? There's something happens in the narrative, but I go down that darkness ladder significantly versus a little bit. So the more the darkness wins, the bigger the payback in the moment of the narrative, but the more corruption you have. And if you
And
make
so
it
you
all the
don't
way down the ladder, you're done. Like you've given into the darkness and time to roll up a new character.
you don't necessarily have to pay a rung to use the
No,
darkness. You can use
you
it and
you,
get
you give it
lucky.
you give it a go and see what happens, because maybe if the light outplays the darkness according to your die roll for a little, by a little bit, it's like the darkness slaps you down and nothing happens, or the lightness, the powers that be, sort of, hey, don't do that. Like it's a something protecting you from reaching out to the darkness. Or if the light outshines the dark by a great deal, you might get that benefit, but you don't go down the darkness ladder. Like it's opening yourself up and saying, and then making a roll and see what happens. And the further you go down the corruption ladder or the darkness ladder, the more corruption you have, the bigger your darkness die gets as compared to your light die. So you might eventually, Mark, you had one of those games where I think, was it 2 people went all the way down? Like, you might have a D10 for your darkness and a D4 for your light. So there's a very small % chance the light's going to pull you back up the ladder.
Very nice.
And
So
that's
2
one of the things.
questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there on the character sheet a 1 through 10 kind of ladder, or
And what happens if you get all the way to one end? You know, if you get all the way to the darkness, is that like you become an NPC?
Yep. You are an
Yep.
agent of the darkness. You are now a wretch, and you're now an NPC as far as that.
Okay.
Now, what I was going to say is that, you know, if you make these gloaming checks in the light, and you've come down the ladder, and the light starts winning, you can actually go back up the ladder. So rolling high on the light die will bring you up the ladder. Rolling high on the dark die can bring you down the.
Right.
And so with the Kickstarter, you got to have like a black and a white dice, right?
Oh,
Or the crown.
Oh yeah, you say asking. Well,
Yeah.
since we need a full set of dice, that might get a little much. So,
Well, I mean, you know,
maybe on the next
Kickstarter,
Kickstarter, we'll do a gloaming die.
and the add-on.
Here you go. I'm going to say this right now. If we make 50 grand, then we'll do it.
I
You
mean,
hear that, guys? 50 grand, and we'll do it.
Yeah,
Gloaming dice
don't
for
threaten them
everybody.
with a good time.
Gloaming dice for
Right.
everyone.
All right. Speaking of gloaming, we kind of already went over it.
Yeah.
Stefan, what's our question after that?
After that, yeah, we're going to ask about gloaming dice separate from the darkness ladder, but it was so intertwined, we just covered it both.
Yeah.
You've got this, you know, my character died off screen mechanic, and better them than us.
Yep.
Explain a little bit about that, if you would.
So better them than us. First of all, I will say that we pretty much only limit that to 0 level games, because playing a leveled character and just dying off screen would just suck. But in a 0 level game, in a flick, in movies, people are constantly stumbling upon dead bodies. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of a horror movie, right? You go upstairs and there's a dead body. Well, in horror cinema classics, that dead body could be one of your 0 level characters. If you've wandered off on your own to, maybe you and your significant other have wandered off into the cornyard, for some alone time, or the cornfield for some alone time, they may just end up being a corpse that you find, the other characters find along the way.
And so how does the director decide when somebody dies?
It's narrative.
I feel like it's happened to Eric, because Eric's smiling over there like he's got a story behind it.
Eric created it, so that's why he's smiling.
All right.
I was the first to succumb to better them than us.
So Eric, tell us the story about that.
Sure. So one of the first flicks that I wrote and that we play tested is called The Evil at Everson Farm, and it's part of the package if you back us. And it is a 1980s bunch of teenagers in rural Wisconsin at a barn party when all of a sudden people start dying, and like you got to unravel what's happening or at the very just try to survive. And people are role playing. I think anyone our age or younger, we've had all ages at our tables who really enjoy, yes, I want to be in the middle of an 80s slasher film. And yes, I and my girlfriend, we're going to go out and make out in the woods. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then we just keep track of that. And my catchphrase is, well, I'll get back to you eventually. Because it's a funnel. So everyone might have a couple characters. I wouldn't do that if they only have one character left. That's no fun. We want everyone to have fun at the table. But
so what did Mark say when you killed his first character off screen and told him they died?
Mark whines a lot, so it's okay. So
I was like, rules is written that there's nothing in our rules. Well, we didn't have rules.
Right. But that's where.
But it was great.
if you come across a character, a 0 level character that has died off screen, but that helps the narrative, all the other living characters gain a luck point, and that sort of
for that player.
eases the pain of that. They go,
Yeah.
okay, well, at least my other characters get a luck point. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the
So
things.
all
I
of
was just
other
gonna say,
Mark's other characters, not all the other characters in the whole
Right,
whole
just that
flick. Right?
players, just that specific player's other character.
Okay.
Right.
yeah, the specific situation with ours. I mean, this is the first time we were playtesting Eric's game, and and I'm sure we're gonna talk about the trope token in a minute, but I wanted to get
Let's
that
talk about
active.
it now, because
Okay,
yeah,
all right. So we have another mechanic that helps us kind of embrace the cinema aspect, and that's called the trope token. In role playing games, our goal is always to win, to live, to be as tactical as possible, and just be as strategic as we can. That never happens in a horror movie. In a horror movie, people go down in the basement without turning a light on. They go by themselves. They go wander off into the cornfield to make out with their significant other. They go upstairs to take a shower, by themselves, in a house they're all alone. They find out they answer the phone and they find out the call is coming from within the house, and instead of leaving the house, they go investigate. These are all tropes of the horror genre, and if you lean into that, we're going to reward you. So we have this thing. It's a trope token. Here's a early edition of the trope token. It's two-sided.
Right.
One says trope token on it, and the other side has our logo. This is not what is coming with the backer kit, but this is just what I kind of created to use in games. So it remains. What did we call it? I can't remember what the term is. Dormant.
Dormant.
Yeah.
Dormant. We call it dormant, and it just sits there. The minute somebody does something that we feel as a director that you're leaning into that horror trope, we're going to flip it, and it stays flipped at the table. And at any time, anyone at the table can use that trope token to flip it back over to dormant and gain a reroll on a die. So you take the chance of leaning into the trope, but as a benefit, you basically get a reroll on any die, except for a critical fumble. Those don't help.
Stefan, my brain's already working here, Stefan, on how I can work this. So, like, as soon as I start playing, I'm going to immediately do something to activate my trope token, and then I'm going to immediately tap into the darkness to get bonuses on my rolls. And then when I try to climb back up the ladder, I'm going to use the token to re-roll and come back to the light, and just keep going through this vicious cycle.
Yes, unless someone else in your party, which has happened to us, where I had a player like yourself, you're like, I'm playing this I got strategy on this. This is what I'm going to do. And they do all this, and then someone else is hitting on a girl, and they fail their personality check, and they go, I want to use a trope token to re-roll my personality check. And they derailed the entire...
Wait.
Anybody
so Stefan can use my trope token?
Yep.
There's one
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, you don't each get a trope token. There's one trope token.
The party has one as a whole. Anyone can activate it. Anyone can use it. Yep. But once it's activated, you don't get to activate it 9 times. It's active.
Okay, so does it activate when a single person does something that leans into the trope, or does everyone have to lean into the trope?
One person. One person does something stupid.
Oh, I'm not sure I like this anymore.
Stefan's
stealing my trope token.
Yeah.
Yep.
Noise up in the attic. Randy goes and checks it out all by himself. The rest of us leave the house. We get the trope token activated. Ready to go.
In my last game at Gamehole, I did break our own rule because we wrote the rules, so I can break my own rules, right?
Absolutely.
These guys were great. They wanted to make sure they got the trope token activated, so they decided, let's split the party. And instead of splitting the party, like half goes one way, half goes the other way, they literally broke the party up, one person going in all different directions. So they were exploring a house and they broke the party up. There was 5 people in the party. They broke it up 5 ways. So they all went individually to the different places. So I pulled out another trope token and gave them 2 trope tokens because that was pretty funny. And it didn't go well for them.
I'll bet.
All right.
No.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Stefan, let's why don't you hit the guys up with our last question?
Yep. Last question. When do you test your metal?
Ooh,
I like how you did that. That was nice.
yes, that's how we like to use it.
There you go.
You
That's
get,
kind of
what do you
our.
guys-
So,
That's
Randy, go
yeah,
ahead.
Randy, go ahead.
our mechanic for fear. So whenever you come into that situation where you see the horrible murdered body or the eldritch creature pops out at you, the director can call for a test your metal, which is basically the fear check. And if you fail the fear check, we have a chart. How badly you fail can be what the detriment is going to be. And that could be different for different modules. Like Andy's
Different
working on one right now
situations.
where he wrote a different test your metal chart for just that script. So you can lean into the different type of horror you're in.
Is there a rule with the trope token that you can only use it before you know the result of something, or can you use it after? For in the example, if we test our metal and we lose and we know what the result is, could we then use the trope token after we know the result?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
As we're going around the table, Matt, if you use it, and then Stefan fails his, he's just out of luck. He's like, oh,
I
that
mean,
stinks.
doesn't anybody just use it as soon as it gets flipped? I mean,
Sometimes
is there a game that people don't use it?
early on when people didn't really know the mechanic very well, or they weren't as maybe savvy with maybe some of the horror tropes. I had one
Right.
group that they didn't really lean into the horror tropes, but they loved the idea of playing in an 80s themed game. So I was allowing the trope to be played anytime they, delved into an 80s trope as well. It got used a
I
lot
tend to
more,
let,
but it was
Yeah.
fun for the group and I allowed it. So
I tend to activate it if it's dormant and someone uses a great one-liner like an Arnie's 80 one line after they kill something or do something. All right, yeah, we'll flip it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like, you said you wouldn't drop me. I lied.
I lied.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got a question. I see on the add-ons, there's 4 adventures on the add-ons,
Oh,
and then
yeah,
it
we
looks
got-
like there's 3, adventure scripts, and then 3 more that have been unlocked as stretch goals. So we got 7. Is there also one in the book? So my question, I guess, is: are there 7 that are coming, or 8 that are
So
coming?
we have each of us are writing an adventure that's available.
Right.
In the book, there will be a flick and a first level.
Okay.
And then, if we can real quick talk about, we've unlocked 4 already.
Oh, 4. Okay.
Yeah, so we have
Yeah.
Tim Snyder writing an adventure. We have Stephen Newton writing an adventure for us. We have Bob Brinkman writing an adventure for us, and then we have John Hook writing an adventure for
Okay.
us. So those have all been
It's a
unlocked.
great lineup.
Oh my goodness! I mean, yeah,
So
and
2 in the book, 4 add-ons, 4 stretch goals. You're hitting the ground running with 10 adventures for this system.
Someone
I'm
could
gonna have
jump
to-
in and have 10 ready to go. Plus, they will get the quick start rule. If you back us, you get the quick start rules
yeah.
and a flick PDF mailed to you a week after. Like, you won't get a physical copy, but you'll be able to play on Halloween if you want.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So after this closes, you're going to get a PDF and an adventure. Do you know where your children are? And that's free on us.
He's
to
in
So
that
see.
room.
now that's 11. And then if you play that adventure, do you know where your children are, before November, and email us pictures of your table playing and allow us to use it on our social media, we're going to give you another PDF adventure in time for the
The holidays.
December
Holiday
holiday.
season.
All right.
So I don't know.
Alright,
I
that's
mean, we're all gonna have to
pretty
quit our
tempting.
jobs and just write full time now, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
we're
threaten
gonna
me
make
with
it
So
full
happen.
time. Yeah.
we've talked a lot about horror cinema classics. Just to touch on it, there is magic in this system. Tell us
Yep.
really quick, Mark. Just give us.
Yep.
We're running out of time, so tell us
Yep.
real quick about the magic.
So the magic system works very similar to DCC. Your esoterics have spell burn. You can spend luck on it. There is each spell will have a chart, just like in DCC. The chart is a little truncated as opposed to our magic system is a little less powerful. So there's not going to be the big swings of casting a fireball that destroys a town type of thing. It's much smaller scale, or not much smaller, but it's a
It's
smaller
it's
scale.
a touch more grounded.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit more grounded.
A little less fancy.
Yeah, so they'll have it. The junksmith has blueprints, which is not unlike the bedlamite from Weird Frontiers. They have contraptions that they can use as spell like abilities. The synthesist has serums, so they have set drugs that they can use to create magic-like abilities. Um, the faithful has thurgies, which are their clerical spells. Theirs is a little different. The longer they spend casting the spell, the bigger the die they get, and the
Oh,
longer it
all
lasts.
right. I
Interesting.
like that.
Um,
All
so
right.
just
And
And
less
then
flashy magic,
and,
more centered
and
math.
within the esoterics magic, aside from just the regular incantations, the direct fast spells, we also have circle magic, where they can draw circles, whether that be in chalk or salt or whatever, and those can be used to help protect them, help summon things, and that'll fall into then later into the regular book. We'll also have the ritualized magic, which will use the circles to cast a little more powerful things, but more time-consuming type of things.
I got it. Well, we've got the link in the chat, and there's just over 48 hours to go. So don't sleep on it, folks. And I think it's just about that time. We have
Wait,
enough.
Steph, we've
I
got
know.
enough time to say our horror movies.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Oh,
All right,
yeah,
all
there
right,
you
all
go.
right. Stefan, go ahead. Go ahead. What do you got?
First one that came to mind is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then my mind went, "Ooh, but The Shining." But the first one that came to my head, yeah.
All right. Hey, Eric, what about you?
For me, it's got to be The Thing. I watched that movie, John Carpenter's The Thing, I don't know, 7 times a year. I love it. I absolutely love it.
The new version or the old version?
Yep.
The old the old version.
the John Carpenter version, not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
prequel, not
All
the.
right. All right.
The prequel was okay. I mean, some of these other ones are okay, but I like the original. What is it, 1984,
Kurt Russell
85?
version.
I really
Kurt
enjoyed it.
Russell with the big sombrero
right.
hat.
Randy,
Yeah.
what about you?
I'm going to go with the Prince of Darkness.
Mhm.
That was
Okay.
again. I wasn't a big horror fan, but that was one that always got me. I love the fact that at the end, nobody wins.
All
Nobody
right.
wins.
Mark?
Well, Eric and Randy hit 2/3 of John Carpenter's apocalyptic trilogy. The third one being In the Mouth of Madness. Those three are like top of my list. But I got to give the nod to The Thing, with Prince of Darkness being a very close second. Those are just perfect movies.
All right. Well, I loved the spookiness of The Shining, but the first movie that traumatized me as a kid was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, first
Freddy,
one, yeah.
Freddy gets a nod. He traumatized me because that next day I was out at my old man's house. My old man loved horror movies. I've seen every horror movie there is. But one that you might not have checked out yet, I want to give everybody a shout out to the 1973 Mansion of Madness. It's
Okay.
also called Dr. Tar's Torture Dungeon. So it's got two names: Mansion of Madness, Dr. Tar's Torture Dungeon. It's 1973. It has the most insane, best choreographed. It's these insane asylum inmates, and they dance as birds. And man, that scene is just
Haunting.
tops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys, everybody from Wayward Studio. The game is Horror Cinema Classics. It is crowdfunding right now on BackerKit. The link is in the chat. And like Stefan said, there's just over 48 hours. If you haven't had a chance to back it yet, this is an exclusive screening with these fellas. Mark, tell us one secret that nobody else knows.
Um, I wrote most of the stuff without wearing pants.
Oh, I'm
That
not
is
sure if that's a
horrific.
secret. Not sure if that's
If
the
Those
that
of
secret
us-
we
doesn't
were looking
horrify you,
for.
I don't know what will. I mean,
All
come
right.
Those of us who know
If you
Mark
haven't
know
backed
that's
it,
not a secret. That's not really a secret if you know Mark.
on. We all have our process.
all right, back it now. Thanks, fellas, for coming on, and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks' time. Let's see. That's going to be November 4th, and I'm going to try to get a special guest, the writer, the author of X Crawl's Got Talent. I'm going to try to get Valerie in here as a guest.
Dope.
So we'll see if we can make that work. All right. Until next time, everybody. Thank you, Elena, and we'll see y'all later.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.